Munn v. Illinois developed as a result of the Illinois legislators responding in 1871 to the National Grange, which was an association of farmers setting maximum rates that private companies could charge for the storage and transport of agricultural products. Grain elevator companies were charging their customers for purchases in cities with populations in excess of 100,000 people. The one problem with the population rules, however, was that it limited this law to only Chicago. This angered the people of Chicago. The customers that were charged were mainly farmers. These farmers felt they were getting ripped off and were concerned with these fees. Customers were enraged and decided that these charging fees were going against Congress's rights to regulate commerce. They also felt that the fees were against private property rights under the due process of the 14th Amendment. The decision in Munn v. Illinois primarily focused on personal property rights. The argument for violating regulation of commerce was proved invalid in the case. The Wabash case was also popularly known as Wabash, St. Louis, and Pacific Railroad Company v. Illinois. The case declared an Illinois law invalid. This Illinois law prohibited long and short haul clauses in transportation contracts as an infringement on the exclusive powers of Congress granted by the Commerce Clause of the Constitution. The Wabash case declared that the states had no right and no power to regulate railroads' rates or interstate shipments. Congress believed that the states would put a burden on commerce and therefore could not govern interstate transportation. One important result of this case was the creation of the Interstate Commerce Commission. In 1887, the Interstate Commerce Commission was created to oversee the conduct of this railroad industry. Increasing public demand for regulation of these railroads led to this. With this creation, railroads became the very first industry subject to federal regulation and inspection. The Interstate Commerce Commission was a 5-member board of enforcement that addressed the problems of monopolies. The Granger Laws, another action that dealt with railroad regulation, set and authorized railroad rates at a state level. These laws established state and railroad commissions for administering new legislation. The Granger Laws varied from state to state, but the main objective was to outlaw widespread abuses by railroads and establish maximum rates and create regulatory agencies to administer and enforce laws. These laws were heavily fought against by railroad corporations. Soon enough, railroads were being used for public transportation, and this sparked the idea for fees and rates.
So, what I think the problem was that the railroad companies, they wanted a lot of money, and the people that they just didn't have the money, and Congress was like, no.
Inventors very strongly affected the way people lived and worked. Between the 1800s and the 1900s, humans had improved technology faster than ever before. Natural resources were used to build inventions. These natural resources included iron, coal, and oil. Iron was a useful resource when it came to just about everything from appliances, tools, and machines to ships, buildings, and infrastructure. Iron was also used in the Bessemer process in order to create steel. Coal was important because it helped furnaces, forges, fueled railway systems, locomotives, and steamboats. Coal was cheap, efficient, and it was a big help in the transportation of the Industrial Revolution. Coal-powered technologies magnified the strength, stamina, and precision of American workers, making the U.S. labor force the most productive in the world. Another big help in the transportation of Industrial Revolution was oil. Whale oils, which were used in machinery, made the Industrial Revolution possible. John D. Rockefeller organized the Standard Oil Company, and he controlled the oil when it was drilled through the refining stage, and he maintained control over the refining process, turning it into gasoline. Oil also played an important role in the railroads of that time period. The Transcontinental Railroad was the first railway to connect the Atlantic and Pacific coast. By 1890, the nation had 30,000 miles of track. These railroads brought the dreams of new land, adventure, and a fresh start to many Americans. Although the railroad sounds euphoric, it only became possible with the help of thousands of Chinese immigrants who worked in very harsh conditions on the railroad. The Union Pacific hired Irish immigrants and desperate out-of-work Civil War veterans to lay the track across treacherous terrain while enduring attacks by Native Americans. Thousands of workers died on the tracks each year from accidents and disease, including more than 2,000 killed and 20,000 injured when the first railroad statistics were published in 1888. Despite harsh conditions, workers helped transformed diverse regions of the county into a united nation. The railroads also resulted in the division of Earth into 24 zones, 4 of which the United States claimed. In 1884, an international conference set worldwide time zones that incorporated railroad time. The Transcontinental Railroad brought the nations together and helped cities grow up and branch out. The Industrial Revolution was a turning point in technology. Industry, machines, and factories took over the agricultural world. Europe and Great Britain had the first industrial revolutions, and the U.S. followed in the 18th century. During the Industrial Revolution, steam-powered engines were invented, and coal and petroleum were used as fuel. Canals and railways expanded, electricity was created, manufacturing processes and transportation improved. Most people didn't need to work by hand, so production was more efficient. Although there were technological advances, there were also economic and social problems. Many people